But I am so thrilled to see so many of the Carr family descendants here. I'm so blessed. I can't believe you guys all came. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Julie Daniels, and she's going to talk to us a little bit. And we have Queen Shipper. And I'm going to turn it over to
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
I'm Julie Daniels. I have the honor of being your state senator, but my biggest honor today is being a good friend of Debbie Neese. This has been a labor of love for Debbie and her inner circle since I think 2016, you said, but she was familiar with the history long before that. And even though this is just my adopted hometown, I love its history. And today we are righting a wrong, righting an injustice, because this is the prequel to the Bartlesville I know. Everybody celebrated the centennial in 1997. I was a part of that committee. And of course, we were focused on the chartering of the city in January of that year. And the Nellie Johnstone gushed on March 25, 1897, about 3 p.m. in the afternoon, we know now. And we know about the Horseshoe Bend and the grist mill and Nelson Carr, but unless you went to the pavilion to have a picnic in Johnstone Park, that was about all you knew. Not realizing that none of that other stuff, for which Bartlesville and this skyline are famous, would have happened without an entrepreneur and a pioneer with the spirit that this town still has. Can do, gonna make it better, gonna sustain it, gonna make it vibrant and keep it that way, and that's all because of Nelson Carr seeing an opportunity, leaving for a while, suffering some losses, coming back, and cutting that channel in the Caney River and putting even more stones on top of the natural dam and forcing the water into his grist mill. And ladies and gentlemen, he did it all without a government permit. And if it were happening today, there would not be a Bartlesville. I live in that world, so I often think, but for regulations, we could do these wonderful things. So I'm just so honored to have played a small part in it because, of course, to name a bridge, you do have to have legislation. You don't just hand it off to the Department of Transportation. So I was really happy to get to carry the bill because I do love the history of my adopted hometown. And the Senate had fun with it because you had to go to the committee to present if you were trying to name something for a veteran. And we had the only bridge being named for a Civil War veteran. And everybody on the committee said, Senator Daniels, this guy is a veteran of the Civil War. Yes. And then they all said, well, what took you so long? We needed it to be a bridge. The bridge is here where the grist mill was. We put this name is street after it, could we? So really, the longer you wait, the better the result. And I'm just so pleased that we got it done. And we do need to thank the Department of Transportation because the bill that got signed by the governor doesn't go into effect until November. So we had to get them to accelerate the making and placement of the sign so we could honor Nelson Carr's 180th birthday today. Our mayor, Dale, is here. And also our former mayor, Carr, is here. And we're just all glad to be here. And I'm going to hand it off now to our newest member of our council member, Queen Shipper.
As Susan said, I'm Quinn Shipper. I'm the city councilman for Ward 4, and we're all standing in Ward 4 today. And I learned just before stepping up, we have the great-great-great-grandson, also Nelson Carr. Would you wave at everybody, please? With us today. And only namesake of Nelson Carr with us today. So Julie and I and our brothers want to speak with you and some of the plans when this is over. So thank you all for being here for this momentous occasion, the dedication of the Nelson Carr Bridge. So I want you all to indulge me for a moment. If you just shut your eyes for a moment and just keep them shut. And I want you to tune into your imaginations for a moment. And while you're there, imagine stepping into a time machine. You all don't have your eyes shut. Shut your eyes, step into the time machine, and travel back 150 years. Now, open your eyes and look around. and imagine what Nelson Carr would have seen. Now it's really hard for me to imagine that because I would have to erase almost everything that I see here, including the bridge, the streets, the buildings. A lot of stuff would not be here. Yes, the river would have been here, but nothing probably else. Well, that's hard to imagine. This is what Nelson Carr would have seen. So I want to turn the dial on the time machine back even more specifically to 1867. In fact, 157 months ago, or years ago, sorry, this month, because that's when Nelson Franklin Carr first came into Indian Territory from Oswego, Kansas. Now Oswego, as the crow flies, is about 75 miles that direction, and he came down looking for opportunities here, and there's a lot of history about that. We've got some snapshots of that today. And while there are many memorable aspects of what happened right here where we are today, he actually established his trading post about 1.5 miles northwest, just south of the Oak Park subdivision, for those who are familiar with the Bartlesville layout. So he actually started about 1.5 miles from here, and where he built that, he had a home, he had a log building, and he built a school to educate his children and some of the other children in the neighborhood. So he was a forerunner, he was an entrepreneur, he was a pioneer, although maybe a bit forgotten. We're not letting that be forgotten today. So locals are familiar with names like Canadian-born William Johnstone. He came here in 1876. I live downtown on Johnstone Avenue, the street that was named after him. 3 years before that, 1873, New Jersey-born Jake Bartles showed up in the area. And of course, we are in Bartlesville today, his namesake. And of course, the bridge we dedicate today is to Carr, right here in Bartlesville. But 3 years before that, it was George Keeler who came into Indian Territory. And running parallel to Johnstone Avenue is Keeler Avenue. So we have these namesakes, Johnstone, Bartles, we have Keeler, but before that, someone came first, and that was Nelson Franklin Carr, who we're dedicated the bridge to today. So as I looked over the history, and there's a lot of history, thank you, Debbie, for...
He's well educated.
Got well educated. There's one of many things, but one thing that really leapt out to me, and it was one word, and that was the word school. School. So some of the very first educational opportunities here in Indian Territory sprang up along the Caney River, and actually the school started by Nelson Carr over by present-day Oak Park was one of the very first schools in what became Washington County. So education in those early days was limited to three things. It was either a mission school, it was a tribal school, or it was a subscription school. I had to look up what a subscription school was. Maybe everybody else knew but me, but I learned, so those who don't know, you're about to find out. They were funded by a tuition paid by the parents. And they would hire a teacher, and out of that teacher's earnings, it was almost exclusively women back then teaching, she would have to find a place, maybe rent it, get the supplies for all of the children, and she was making about $1 a month per child. Now the school year was a bit short-lived because these children had to help with harvest, they had other farm duties to perform, and so whatever she made, that's what she made teaching those children. But Nelson Carr was so dedicated to the education of his children, his three, and about 15 others from the neighborhood, he actually built a school, as I said, adjacent to his home. He hired Miss Millie Smith from Kansas. She came down, she lived with the Carr family, taught all those children, and as I say, the rest is history. Nested inside our Area History Museum, which is downtown at the top of the City Hall on Johnstone Avenue, is the Nelson Carr School. It's a little one-room schoolhouse. We see some nods. People have been there. If you've not seen it, not been, go see the Nelson Carr School up at the top of the, in the Area History Museum. Go check it out. Well, Nelson Carr was obviously our forerunner in many, many significant ways. And we stand together today to dedicate this beautiful bridge to Nelson F. Carr, a memorial to him. But if we could enter that time machine one more time, if we could all go back that 150 years and step into that first classroom, I think that we would be remiss not to acknowledge the often overlooked commitment that Nelson Carr had to education, which is so bedrock to the history and development still today in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. So from that little schoolhouse, if you would imagine with me, if you would imagine with me a bridge from the past to the present and into the future that includes so many things we're memorializing today, but the emphasis I wanted to bring to your attention is the bridge to education that he established, that carries with us now and into the future story for us, our children, grandchildren, and descendants today. So thank you all for being here.
An amazing job!
Okay, I want to add two things to that. We definitely need to take a moment of silence for Billy Roan. I'll probably cry, sorry. Billy worked so hard before Mr. Quinn came to help us. She worked so hard to get this done, and she is to be credited as well. So let's just take a second for her, please. Then I want to tell you one more thing. Where you're standing right now, this is the North Delaware Settlement. This is where Johnstone and Keeler were on the other side of the river from Jacob Bartles, and this was the competitors right here. And so isn't it poignant that we come back and we are celebrating Nelson Carr on the South Settlement? Love it. Thank you so much. I brought a ribbon so we can cut the ribbon. If you don't mind, we just like line up out here. We'll stretch the ribbon, hold the sign, and maybe ask Julie Daniels to cut it for us. If you don't mind?
No, the family. Get the family to cut it.
Okay, let's go.
Family. I'll help.
Come on up.
Hey, Charlie.
You all just gather.
Charlie. Any more family? Can you take a picture?
I'm gonna squeeze in.
Are all the family up here? Gather to the ribbon. You need to hold on to this is a Chamber of Commerce. You have to hold on to the ribbon. Okay. And then somebody's going to cut in the middle. We're going to take a picture before we cut it and after we cut it. Oh my gosh. Debbie, why aren't you here?
I gotta have a picture.
Get it and come over here.
Get it.
I got the scissors.
Get in there closer.
You gotta give the scissors to the family.
Oh, I think it should be a senior member.
Debbie should cut it.
Come on, move over there.
But I would only go
You can have two hands on the scissors.
Squat. Are you ready? 1, 2. Okay.
an afterthought.
Sorry, no.
Oh, you're good. You're good.
I appreciate you guys so much.
No, we appreciate you.
Oh, I know.